Employees become numbers and customers become dollar signs, but they're not. We're not metrics. We're not transactions. We're humans having human experiences who still want something pretty basic at the end of the day: to feel seen, to feel understood, to feel like the system that we're in wasn't built completely against us. And when that's missing, people don't just get annoyed, they disconnect, they burn out, they stop caring. This is Hustle Rebels, a podcast for people who know how to grind, but are starting to question the cost. I'm Renee, and here we talk about success, burnout, and nervous system regulation without glorifying exhaustion or sacrificing your health, relationships, or your sense of self, and without pretending ambition is the problem. Let's get into it. We've officially reached a point where society is asking CEOs to try their own products. And somehow that's deemed controversial. There's this whole thing going around right now, the CEO Burger Challenge. And I'm sure you've heard of it because it all started when the McDonald's CEO took the tiniest, most awkward bite of their new burger. And then he called it a product and people were just freaking out. Wait, you don't even eat your own food. You don't even call it food. And now it has spiraled. There's this new trend where people are saying things like, make the CEO of Ticketmaster try to buy their own tickets during a presale. Make a cellular provider CEO cancel their own accounts. Put an airline CEO in a middle seat economy, cross country. Or have the CEO of HP set up a printer without losing their fucking minds. Or let the CEO of Planet Fitness try to cancel their memberships. And honestly, it's funny, it's hysterical, but it's also not, because this isn't about burgers or printers. This is something so much bigger. Welcome back to Hustle Rebels. I'm Renee, the founder of Wayward Wellness Coaching. And if you're not already subscribed, go ahead and hit that button now, because these are the kinds of conversations that most people are thinking about, but not actually saying out loud. And I want to have them with you. Here's what's actually going on right now. People aren't mad or getting excited about a burger. Frankly, we don't care about the burger. People are frustrated with something they've been feeling for a very long time. Leadership that's completely disconnected from reality. Because the higher up you go, the less friction that you feel. You're not dealing with the broken systems, the confusing processes, the day-to-day functions. You're looking at reports, metrics, performance dashboards, and somewhere along the line, people turn into numbers. They become performance indicators, retention rates, productivity stats, instead of actual human beings having an actual experience. And that's the shift. Because when people become numbers, it gets really easy to justify decisions that don't actually work in real life. But you're not living. And that's where things start to break, because you can hit every metric on paper and still create something that drives people insane to use. That's the disconnect. The thing is, though, that numbers don't push back, but people do, eventually. And here's where this ties into something deeper: burnout. Because when leadership is disconnected, the people underneath them end up carrying the weight of that disconnect. Employees end up dealing with systems that don't make sense, fixing problems they didn't create, overcompensating just to keep things running. I mean, I was just literally having a conversation with a good friend of mine where she was talking about how her leadership was overbooking her. And when she tried to push back and say that what they were giving her was a ridiculous timeline and it was not feasible, and if that was what they wanted her to do, they either needed to provide more help or to push back the timeline, their response was just use AI to create most of it. How disconnected can you be? And then when you consider the customers, they're navigating processes that feel unnecessarily complicated, and they're getting frustrated, confused, and feeling stuck. And then what do we call the people holding it all together? We just label them as resilient, which is, just gaslighting. Because no, they're not resilient. They're compensating, which is a huge difference. And when you're constantly compensating, you're not operating out of capacity. You're operating from strain, which, if you've been along the ride this entire time, we talk a lot about nervous system regulation, which plays a huge role in burnout. And I highly recommend you go through some of the older episodes where we talk about burnout and how it affects our nervous system and our ability to operate in capacity. And going through all this reminded me of that show Undercover Boss. I don't know if you remember it, but there was this one episode where the boss was being trained as a cashier and he had to operate under the regulations that he himself had actually put into place. And it was so bad. People literally started leaving their items on the conveyor belt and walked out of the store. And the employee that was training him finally just said, "I just don't think that this is the job for you." And that's not just funny because the boss was bad at it. It was revealing because that's someone making decisions about a role that they can't even perform at a basic level. And if you can't do the job, or at least understand it firsthand, why are you the one shaping how it gets done? If you're in a leadership position, think about that for a second. And if you think that this is just on TV, it's not. I recently had a conversation with a deputy police chief, someone who's been in that role for about 4 years now. And he said something that stuck with me. He had told me that while he's dealing with his own administrative stress, he has no idea what's going on with the guys on the ground anymore. He said he's forgotten what it's like to be a rookie down there. And then he said it's hard for him to see the benefit of a leadership and wellness program for his own team because it doesn't directly affect him. Meanwhile, they had one of their own commit suicide just a couple of years prior. Now pause for a second, because I don't think that necessarily makes him a bad leader. I think it makes him just a disconnected one. I mean, at least he's willing to admit he's disconnected. Many won't even admit that, because this is what happens. You move up. You get removed from the day-to-day. You stop feeling the friction. And when you don't feel the problem, you also don't feel the urgency to fix it. That's human, but it's also very dangerous, because the most dangerous thing in leadership isn't pressure, it's comfort. And that's why this whole CEO challenge thing is blowing up. It's not about humiliation, it's about humanization. People don't care if a CEO digs a big or small bite out of a burger for a video or for a photo. They want to see them sit in the frustration that they deal with on a day-to-day basis. They want them to struggle through the broken systems, hit the same dead ends, feel the same, "why is this so difficult?" moments. Maybe even get the same shits that you and I get when we eat their shitty fast foods. Because right now, a lot of leadership doesn't feel any of that. They've built distance. And in that distance, employees become numbers and customers become dollar signs. But they're not. We are not. We're not metrics. We're not transactions. We're humans having human experiences who still want something pretty basic at the end of the day: to feel seen, to feel understood, to feel like the system that we're in wasn't built completely against us. And when that's missing, people don't just get annoyed, they disconnect, they burn out, they stop caring. And here's the ironic part: the more human you are in how you lead, the better things actually perform. Not worse, better. Because when people feel seen, they stay. When things actually work, people use them. And when you remove unnecessary friction, everything just runs smoother. It's almost like when you stop treating people like numbers, the numbers improve. And you don't need a study to tell you this. I'm sure you have personally felt this. You know the difference between a place that actually gives a shit and the one that just tracks your output. Most systems don't fail because people are lazy. They fail because they were built without considering the human experience. And honestly, I doubt that the CEO forgot that they are human as well. They have their own human experience. They just have to be reminded that those that are working under them also are having that same human experience too. But here's where I'm going to push you a little, because this isn't just about CEOs or leaderships or corporations. Where in your own life have you become disconnected? Where are you saying yes to things that you resent, or building a schedule that you can't sustain, or staying in an environment that is draining you? Because you don't need to be a CEO to lose touch with your own reality. You can do it slowly, quietly, one small decision at a time. Real leadership, whether it's in a company or in your own life, it comes down to one thing: staying close to reality. That means you test what you build, whether that's a career, a family, even a hobby. You stay connected to the experience, and you listen before you optimize, not from a distance, but from proximity, staying close to it. Because respect doesn't come from your title, it comes from your willingness to stay connected to the reality you lead. You might not be able to change the entire system. We're not about to blow it all up, but you can stop blindly carrying it. You can question what doesn't make sense, stop overfunctioning to compensate, and speak up when things feel off. Because the moment people stop quietly adapting to broken systems, those systems are forced to change. And change is our goal here, because we are all tired of being exploited by a system that just doesn't pay back. If this hit for you, if you're starting to see how much of your life has been shaped by systems you never questioned, causing you to compensate in the name of resilience, we need to talk about what that's actually doing to your nervous system. Because your body doesn't care what you call it. It just knows that you're under pressure, constantly adapting and never getting relief. That's exactly what I break down deeper in the Burn the Blueprint Masterclass, breaking down the conditionings, beliefs, and identities that are keeping you pressurized without ever feeling any type of relief. And the link's going to be in the show notes if you want to go deeper. And if you haven't already, make sure you are subscribed to the podcast, Hustle Rebels, and also to the weekly Recharge newsletter, which you'll also find some audio of that as well. Because these conversations, we're not done having them, but we are continuing to question the cost of this hustle culture. So subscribe, share with a friend who also needs to hear this, and I'll see you guys next week.